There is a moment in every seeker's journey when the veil begins to tremble. Not fully lifted, not yet torn, but stirred, like the surface of a still lake touched by an unseen force. If you're watching this, that moment has arrived. You are guided here, not by coincidence, but by something far older than time. A frequency. A call. A forgotten whisper echoing from the depths of your soul. This is not just another video. This is a signal, encoded within sound, wrapped in symbol, and sealed with sacred intention. Today, we step beyond the threshold of ordinary understanding and enter the chamber of an ancient god, not a god of myth or superstition, but of mastery. Thoth. The architect of wisdom. The keeper of hidden knowledge. The silent scribe who recorded the blueprint of existence with a feather and flame. But there's a power he held, a gift, a secret, that has long been misinterpreted, diluted, or hidden beneath centuries of dust and dogma. A godlike psychic faculty said to allow one to see the unseen, know the unknowable, and transcend the limits of time, space, and mind. This is what we uncover today. Not just stories or symbols, but an initiation into a long-lost current of consciousness. You will learn why this knowledge was hidden, how Thoth accessed divine information beyond mortal comprehension, and, most importantly, how you can begin to unlock the same power buried within you. But I must warn you, this isn't for the curious. It's for the ready. And readiness isn't a thought. It's a resonance. So, take a breath. Feel the silence between these words. And ask yourself, what if this video is the final key your spirit has been waiting for? When you're ready, I'll take you deeper into the historical and philosophical roots of this godlike psychic power. Just say the word. To understand the depth of Thoth's psychic mastery, we must return to a time before time was counted, before calendars, before alphabets, before empires rose and fell. In the twilight of prehistory, when ancient Kemet, what we now call Egypt, was still birthing its first temples of light, there walked among mortals a being not entirely of flesh. Known by many names, Jehudi, Tehudi, Hermes Trismegistus, Thoth was not just a deity in robes of gold, but a consciousness, an emanation of divine intelligence, said to have descended to teach mankind the art of wisdom, balance, and spiritual technology. He was the patron of sacred geometry, the master of language, the inventor of writing, not merely as a tool for communication, but as a means of encoding reality itself. The emerald tablets, attributed to him, whisper in cryptic verses about the nature of the soul, the structure of the cosmos, and the infinite power that lies dormant in the human spirit. In these texts, he speaks of accessing visions beyond the veil, of journeying to other planes, and of unlocking what he calls the inner flame, a symbol for a psychic faculty that transcends the five senses. But why was this knowledge hidden? Why, if such divine power once flowed freely, did it vanish into myth? The answer lies in cycles, cosmic tides of forgetting and remembering. Ancient initiates guarded these secrets with their lives, not out of greed, but to protect them from the corruption of those unready. Knowledge of the divine, in the wrong hands, becomes a weapon. And so the mystery schools veiled their teachings behind riddles, symbols, and initiation rites. Only the worthy, those who had purified their intent, could access the deeper truths. Over centuries, as empires shifted and dogma hardened into religion, Thoth's teachings were either suppressed or diluted. He was recast as a mere scribe of the gods or absorbed into Greco-Roman mythology as Hermes. His role as a cosmic architect and keeper of higher mind was buried under allegory. And yet, for those with eyes to see and ears to hear, his fingerprints remain, etched in temples, encoded in symbols, and embedded in the sacred mathematics of the universe. Philosophically, Thoth's legacy reveals a powerful truth, that consciousness is not local. That the mind, when properly attuned, is not bound by the linear flow of time or the illusion of separation. What he taught was more than psychic ability, it was divine alignment. The art of becoming a vessel through which the universe sees itself. This is not clairvoyance as mere entertainment. It is the reactivation of the original sight, what the ancients called sa sikam sahu, the power of the spirit in full radiance. Thoth did not see the future in the way modern minds crave predictions. He became the future, the past, and the eternal present, merging with the flow of divine intelligence and reading it like a living manuscript. This is the power we now remember. Not through worship, but through awakening. Through reuniting with the source code of who we truly are. To begin unlocking Thoth's psychic secret, you must first unlearn what society has told you about the nature of perception. True vision, divine sight, does not come from the eyes. It is not tethered to the five senses, nor is it activated through intellectual force. Thoth's power emerged from an entirely different mode of knowing, a direct resonance with the source field of the cosmos. He did not guess the future. He didn't predict events. He attuned himself so precisely with the infinite intelligence of the universe that past, present, and future became one continuous now. Time did not pass for Thoth, he passed through time. This is the foundation of his godlike psychic ability. He became the living bridge between dimensions. To the uninitiated, this sounds mystical, perhaps poetic. But to the ancient temples of Kemet, it was science, a sacred science built on geometry, vibration, intention, and consciousness alignment. Thoth taught that all of reality is composed of patterns. Fractals. Harmonics. Everything we experience is the result of vibrating fields interacting in complex but decipherable rhythms. The key to psychic mastery, then, was not to control reality, but to perceive its pattern before it became physical. This is why Thoth was called, he who balances. He stood at the fulcrum point between the visible and invisible realms. His followers were trained to enter this balance through disciplined stillness. Silence was not a void, it was a gateway. Thoth's initiates underwent intense purification rituals, not to please a deity, but to retune their inner frequency. Fasting, solitude, sound healing, and sacred geometry were tools to help the initiate shed the distortions of ego, trauma, and distraction. Only then could they access what the ancients called Sikam, life force in its purest, most radiant form. When Sikam rises through the spine, activating the heart and the pineal gland, the inner vision awakens. The initiate becomes a living antenna, able to download universal knowledge directly into consciousness. One of the most profound metaphors Thoth used was the Eye of Horus, which we now associate with the third eye. But this wasn't just a mystical symbol, it was a precise neurospiritual technology. Within the eye's proportions lies a mathematical map of human perception, derived from the golden ratio. Even the layout of the symbol mirrors the anatomy of the brain's pineal and pituitary glands. Thoth taught that this eye is not something you open once and forever possess. It is a sacred lens that requires purification, stillness, and alignment to function. When open, it perceives reality in holographic layers. Every image, every word, every sound contains multiple meanings, much like a dream that speaks in symbols rather than language. In his emerald tablets, Thoth often describes entering the halls of Amenti, which many have misinterpreted as a literal underworld or afterlife realm. But esoteric scholars understand Amenti to be a higher dimensional space, a cosmic archive, much like the Akashic records. In this place, which exists beyond space and time, all thoughts, choices, and outcomes are recorded in vibrational form. Thoth claimed to have access to these halls, not because he was a god, but because he had mastered the inner journey. He became still enough to hear the echoes of eternity. In Amenti, one does not think. One receives. Vision here is not bound by sight, it is a knowing that arrives fully formed, bypassing logic, yet undeniably true. But here lies the paradox Thoth always hinted at: the more you try to see, the less you see. The more you try to know, the further you move from knowing. This is not a riddle meant to confuse, it is a warning. Psychic power cannot be pursued from a place of ego, hunger, or domination. It can only be revealed through surrender, humility, and alignment with the divine will. The moment you stop chasing knowledge and become present in the stillness, you become a mirror in which the universe reflects itself. This is why Thoth was called the scribe of the gods. Not because he wrote history, but because he recorded the will of the divine as it flowed through him. He became the vessel, the pen, and the parchment. His power did not lie in accumulation, it lay in purity of channel. To possess such power, then, is not to gain something external, but to remember who you are beneath the noise. Beneath the programming. Beneath the illusion of separation. The psychic power Thoth wielded is not gone. It lives dormant in you. And right now, it is beginning to stir. To truly grasp the magnitude of Thoth's godlike vision, we must first unchain our minds from the diluted interpretations handed down over millennia. Thoth was never merely a scribe recording cosmic tales, he was a technician of the unseen, an engineer of consciousness. And his teachings were not fables, but precise instructions cloaked in allegory, embedded in symbols, and sealed in ritual, designed to endure the fall of civilizations and the erosion of collective memory. Across cultures, his wisdom echoed under many names. As Hermes Trismegistus in the Hellenistic world, as Enoch in the Judaic mystical traditions, and even as Ninjashida in Sumerian lore. Always the same archetype, the messenger, the bridge, the keeper of secrets. His message was universal because it transcended language and time. Wherever seekers gazed at the stars and yearned for higher knowing, Thoth's voice could be heard, not in audible tones, but in the inner chambers of intuition. Yet over time, the original teachings were intentionally fragmented. Organized structures feared the liberation that true psychic empowerment would bring. If every human could access divine insight directly, without priests, intermediaries, or institutions, control would dissolve. And so, the power was cloaked in mystery, mythologized beyond reach, or rebranded as heresy. The emerald tablets were hidden, copied, and mistranslated. Sacred geometry was dismissed as superstition. The third eye was ridiculed or pathologized. What was once considered the highest form of perception became taboo. But beneath these distortions lies a radiant truth. Thoth's secret was never entirely lost. It was encoded into the very structure of reality. Just as DNA holds the blueprint of life, sacred knowledge was embedded into symbols that speak across dimensions. The flower of life, the ankh, the jed pillar, the serpent rising, they are not merely artifacts of a forgotten age. They are living technologies, visual mantras that activate memory in the soul. When contemplated, meditated upon, or placed within sacred geometry, they begin to stir something ancient inside you. Thoth's psychic vision was deeply tied to the understanding that reality is a projection, and that the mind, when properly calibrated, is the ultimate lens through which the projection can be seen, altered, and transcended. He often spoke of the light of the mind as a divine flame, unseen, unconsumed, eternal. This light is not metaphorical. It is real. The pineal gland, which modern science is only beginning to explore, was known to Thoth as the seat of the soul. In ancient depictions, it was shown as a pine cone, surrounded by serpents, symbols of awakened Kundalini energy spiraling up the spine to ignite divine vision. This was not guesswork or fantasy, it was inner science. Thoth understood that the body is a temple, and within it lie the keys to cosmic access. When the breath slows, when intention aligns, when the spine becomes a staff of light and the heart opens without fear, the gateways begin to respond. The veil thins. Visions emerge not as fantasies, but as direct downloads, packets of multidimensional information compressed into symbols, images, feelings, and resonance. It's important to understand, psychic vision is not linear. It does not operate like a movie reel playing out the future scene by scene. Instead, it arrives like a fractal, a spiraling insight with layers that unfold over time. Thoth warned that those who chase clarity without purification will be given symbols they cannot interpret. This is why initiation was central to his teachings. Only through the inner alchemy of mind, body, and spirit could one wield this gift without being consumed by it. Misconceptions about psychic power abound. It is not about reading minds, controlling fate, or peering into someone's secrets. That is the domain of ego masquerading as insight. Thoth's psychic mastery was about alignment with divine intelligence, allowing one to see the patterns of destiny, not to manipulate them, but to understand and walk in harmony with them. It is the difference between surfing a wave and trying to control the ocean. In today's world, where distraction is endless and silence is rare, this ancient skill may seem distant. But in truth, the conditions are ripe for a reawakening. The collective soul of humanity is stirring, and many are feeling the call, the inner pull towards something forgotten but familiar. That call is the voice of Thoth, echoing through time, inviting you to remember what you've always known. The question is not whether you can access this vision, but whether you are willing to prepare yourself for it. To cleanse the lens. To surrender the noise. To allow the inner temple to be rebuilt, not through external rituals, but through devotion to truth, stillness, and light. Thoth did not teach through blind mysticism. His wisdom was practical, embodied, and direct. He understood that without application, knowledge becomes illusion, dust in the mind. The secrets he preserved were meant to be lived, not just studied. And so, the question now becomes, how do you, here and now, awaken the psychic flame within you? How do you tune your vessel to the same divine current that once flowed through the high initiates of ancient Kemet? The first principle is this: stillness is the doorway. In a world addicted to motion, noise, and distraction, Thoth's path begins with radical silence. Find a quiet space, not just outside you, but inside. Close your eyes. Feel your breath. Slow it down until it becomes almost imperceptible. Thoth's initiates were taught that the breath is the bridge between body and spirit. As you inhale, imagine golden light entering through your crown. As you exhale, release the static, the doubt, the tension. With each breath, you are remembering. With each breath, you are clearing the mirror. Next is focus. True psychic perception requires a single-pointed mind. Thoth taught that scattered attention is a shattered mirror. Choose a symbol, an ancient glyph, a sacred shape, or simply the Eye of Horus. Gaze upon it not with curiosity, but with reverence. Meditate upon its form until it begins to vibrate in your mind's eye. These symbols are not art, they are activation codes. When held in the silence of focused awareness, they begin to unlock stored memory within your subtle body. Then comes the ignition. Activate your spine. Sit upright, aligned like the Jed pillar, Thoth's symbol for divine stability and ascension. Visualize energy rising from the base of your spine upward, like a serpent of light. This is the awakening of Sikkim, the sacred force that powers divine vision. As the energy ascends through each chakra, breathe into those centers. Feel them open, expand, vibrate. When it reaches your heart, hold your attention there. It is in the heart that psychic perception becomes pure. Without heart alignment, any vision becomes distorted by ego. But with heart as the center, the third eye opens in harmony with divine truth. One of Thoth's most powerful practices was dream activation. Before sleep, set an intention to receive guidance. Whisper a question not to your mind, but to the universe within you. Then, place a journal by your bed. When you awaken, write without thinking. Capture every symbol, emotion, fragment. Dreams are the language of the deeper mind, the same mind Thoth accessed in the halls of Amenti. With time, patterns will emerge. Repetition will appear. And you will begin to realize that your dream space is not random, it is a classroom, a temple of your own soul's making. Another powerful technique is symbol scrying. Light a candle. Sit before a mirror, or a bowl of still water. Let your gaze soften, not to see, but to receive. Breathe deeply. Allow your mind to empty. After several minutes, images may begin to surface, not in the mirror, but within. These are not hallucinations. They are echoes from the higher realms. Do not chase them. Do not analyze them. Simply witness. Record them later. Thoth's psychic power did not come from effort, but from attuned receptivity, the art of listening to light. And finally, perhaps the most overlooked but essential practice, discipline of intention. Psychic ability is not a toy. It is a responsibility. Ask yourself, why do I seek this power? If the answer is to control, to know the future, or to gain advantage, you are not yet ready. But if the answer is to serve, to understand, to align with truth, then the path will open. The universe does not withhold vision. It simply waits for the soul to become a vessel clean enough to carry it. Begin with small rituals. Morning meditations with sun gazing. Breathwork beneath the moon. Journaling in sacred spaces. Study the emerald tablets not as text, but as a living voice speaking directly to your soul. And trust that what is meant for you will come, not through force, but through readiness. These practices are not new. They are ancient. They live in your bones. You've done them before, in temples lost to history, in lives remembered only in the hush between dreams. This moment is not your first initiation. It is your return. As we draw this ancient transmission to a close, let us hold the key truths that have been illuminated along the way. Thoth's godlike psychic power was never a mere parlor trick or fantastical myth. It is a living current of consciousness flowing beneath the surface of all things, accessible to those who dare to awaken their inner vision. This power is not about seeing the future like a fortune teller, nor about controlling others or bending reality to one's will. It is about alignment, becoming a clear vessel through which the universe reveals its patterns, its symbols, and its deepest mysteries. It is about remembering that time is not a chain but a spiral, and that your consciousness can move freely through its coils, perceiving past, present, and future as one eternal moment. The lessons of Thoth remind us that true psychic vision begins in silence and stillness, where the noise of the world falls away and the soul can hear the sacred whisper. It requires discipline, humility, and the courage to face oneself without illusion. It demands that we release the hunger for control and instead embrace the surrender to divine flow. The ancient symbols, the Eye of Horus, the Jed Pillar, the Serpent of Sikkim, are not relics of a forgotten past but living technologies designed to activate the dormant light within you. When you meditate upon these symbols, when you practice breath and intention aligned with your heart, you begin to step into the same current that once energized the high initiates of Kemet. Remember, this journey is not about becoming someone else but about reclaiming the divine essence you have always carried. The godlike power of Thoth is your birthright, not something to be earned, but something to be remembered and allowed. Your readiness is not an intellectual decision but a resonance within your being, a sacred alignment that says, I am prepared to see beyond the veil. So I leave you with this final question. If this video found you when you were ready, what doors are you now willing to open within yourself? What ancient truths are you prepared to embody in your daily life? The path ahead is both mysterious and illuminated, requiring faith in the unseen and courage to walk the unknown. If this message has stirred something deep within, I invite you to engage, share your experiences, your questions, and your insights below. Let this be a living conversation, a community of seekers awakening together. And if you feel called, return to this knowledge often, for the secrets of Thoth unfold layer by layer, like petals of a sacred lotus. The journey to godlike psychic power is not a destination but an eternal unfolding. Step forward with reverence, with patience, and above all, with an open heart. The ancient wisdom is no longer lost. It lives in you. And it is waiting.